Welcome back to Hardware Unboxed. Right, so about 2 months ago now, I put together a top 5 best CPUs video, and this was just before Ryzen 3 and Threadripper landed. Anyway, most of the picks, they're still pretty valid today, so I'm not going to bother updating that video just yet. Instead, we're going to have a little bit of fun and look at what the top 5 worst CPUs released in the last 5 years or so looks like. Now, in the previous video, I did mention this was something I was thinking of doing, and a lot of you have been begging me to do it ever since, so it's taken so long. But a lot of you gave your top 5 worst CPU lists on the last video, so I'm going to sort of collaborate with you guys to blend your top 5 worst with my top 5 worst. I thought you guys might get a little bit excited about a top 5 worst series, but I have to say the feedback was even more than I was expecting. So I have taken everyone's picks on board and looked at which models came up the most. I've then put my own spin on it to justify the picks as I see it. Remember, this is just a little bit of fun, and if you've got one of these CPUs or whatever, don't be offended. We're just having a bit of fun here. We're not saying you're stupid or anything like that by buying one of these CPUs. I'm sure you have your own reasons and you may have got them for a good price at the time. Like I said, just a bit of fun, so remember that as we go through the picks. All of these picks will no doubt be controversial for one reason or another, and I have to say though, this one will probably stir up more comments than, let's say, some of the other ones. From a technical standpoint, the Core i7-6950X was a bit of a marvel, which makes it a bit strange to be on this list. And at the time of release, it was the most powerful CPU you could possibly buy, desktop CPU that is. And it didn't just smash productivity workloads either, it was very capable when it came to gaming. In terms of performance, it had no weakness. Power consumption was very reasonable for a 10-core 20-thread CPU, and while not the best overclocker, again, for a 10-core part, it was impressive. All sounds good so far. The issue, however, was the price. Intel's previous generation flagship CPU, released 2 years prior, cost $1,000 US. After a reasonably long wait, the 6950X landed for an insane $1,750 US. Enthusiasts were all like, please Intel, I've saved up $1,000 US. It took me 2 years. Can I at least have the flagship version? This insane price gouging certainly rubbed the PC tech community the wrong way, and it was quite clear at this point Intel was taking advantage of its market dominance. This is what a lack of competition leads to, and this is why fanboying for a certain company is just stupid. They don't care about you, the consumer, they only care about profit margins, and the 6950X was a rude reminder of that. Moving on from taking advantage of enthusiasts with deep pockets, Intel's now just decided to confuse the hell out of all of us by releasing a quad-core CPU, actually not one, but 2 quad-core CPUs on their high-end desktop platform. What is this, 2013? Because that's the last time we saw a quad-core CPU on Intel's premium desktop platform. I'm not even sure if it made sense then. Here we are thinking the arrival of Ryzen would force Intel to finally start increasing core counts in a meaningful way, and they go and do this. After the world's tech media put their heads together and tried to work out why Kaby Lake X was even a thing, I mean, we only just worked out Kaby Lake. At least I think we did. And now we have an even more confusing lake to navigate. Anyway, I don't think anyone really worked out the Kaby Lake X riddle, and from what I've heard from retailers, it seems like consumers didn't get it either. Quite interestingly, looking at Amazon's best sellers list for CPUs, I found the Core i7-7740X in 44th spot as I put this video together. The list is updated every hour, but damn, 44th position. Shockingly, Amazon is still selling more AMD FX processors. Ouch. I am proud though to see the Core i7, 7800X, 7820X and 7900X all ranked higher, so it's good to see consumers doing their homework. Anyway, I don't feel like I really need to justify why the Kaby Lake X CPUs made this list. I think you guys get it. Next to the AMD FX series, the most heavily nominated worst CPU was the Intel Core i3-7350K, and I have to admit, I was a bit hesitant to include this one. Yes, in terms of price versus performance, it makes absolutely no sense at all, even at the new $140 US price, though admittedly it is now worlds better than that $170 MSRP. Even so, in order to actually take advantage of the 7350K's unlocked clock multiplier, you need to purchase an expensive Z-series motherboard, and don't forget it also doesn't come with a cooler. A cooler alone adds at least $20 to the asking price, so we're back to $160 US, and we still need a motherboard that supports overclocking. So once you factor in all the additional costs, you essentially end up with a really expensive dual-core that's more than twice the price of the G4560, and it's really not a great deal faster. Still, the Kaby Lake architecture is very good, so in terms of performance and efficiency, the 7350K isn't bad. That for me makes it a bit of an iffy choice for the top 5 worst CPUs, but with nearly everyone nominating in the previous video, I couldn't really skip over it either. Yeah, well, come on, you knew this one was coming. I don't think there's many of you that will try and dispute this one. Even the most hardened battle-ready AMD fanboys have to give up this fight. At least now, come on, it's 2017, admit defeat, you've got Ryzen to rally behind. Come on, the FX series sucked. From the release of the FX 8150 back in 2011 to the motherboard frying FX 9590 in 2014, the FX series has sucked worse than any CPU I can remember in the last decade. From day one, the FX series proved to be about as efficient as a hybrid-era Honda-powered F1, and there were endless FX owners sitting back in lawn chairs waiting for their games to load up. The only option here for AMD was to reduce prices so low they'd lose sight of what it even looked like to break even. Frankly, you were better off buying a Core i3 from about 2013 onwards. As someone who truly cherishes competition in the tech industry, I can't tell you how thankful I am that those days are well behind us now. I just hope AMD can continue to make good steps with the Zen architecture. Billed as a low-powered 8-core CPU, the FX 8370E was anything but. Out of the box, it used well over 50% more power than an equivalent Haswell-based Core i5 of the time, and at best was able to match it for productivity workloads. Then when it came to gaming, even when overclocked beyond 4.5 GHz, the 8370E would get blasted by the Core i5 4430E, and it really struggled to keep up with Core i3 CPUs, so The only saving grace was the Core i3-like asking price of $142 for the 8320E, though the 8370E that I'm focused on still cost a ridiculous $194 US. In my opinion, the E-series of FX processors was a desperate move in late 2014 to try and move some inventory. Looking back, if you invested in FX 8370E for $194 in 2014, or a Core i5 4670K for $242, that extra $50 meant 3 years later in 2017 you'd still have a very capable gaming system that's not really in need of an upgrade. Meanwhile, the FX 8370 would be plaguing you with horrible 1% low performance in many modern titles, and you're probably having a bit of a bad time in comparison. Okay, so I did pick 2 AMD FX processors to rag on, but really the FX 9590 and FX 8370E represent the entire FX series on a whole. AMD really sold the bet on that one. Then, admittedly, the Core i3 7350K is a bit of a sketchy pick, but with Kaby Lake offering zero improvement over Skylake in terms of IPC gains, Intel's still insisting on using a rubbish TIM on their premium unlocked models, and the fact that it took them this long to offer another sub $200 US part, I can't see there being too many enthusiasts having an issue with this one. Meanwhile, the Core i7 7740X and Core i5 7640X, aka Crappy Lake, are an obvious and well-deserved pick. And while I'm never going to forgive Intel for the Core i7 6950X pricing, any review outlet that awarded both the i7 7740X and i7 6950X scores in excess of 90% probably need to have a long, hard look at themselves. But hey, we all make mistakes. Anyway, guys, you've been hounding me for this one, so hopefully it was everything you hoped it would be. Of course, remember, this is just a bit of fun, and while mostly fact-based, it was also just my opinion and those in the comments section from the previous video, just sort of all rolled into one. But yeah, above all else, just a bit of fun. On that note, if you happen to have a computer with an older CPU, maybe an FX processor, and you want to have it upgraded, then check out our new Upgrade My PC Please series. First episode will be online this time tomorrow, and we're set to give whoever is voted the most deserving a $500 US upgrade package for their PC. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Anyway, I'm your host, Steve. Catch you again soon, guys.